Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Stay Report, coming at you fast and loose and sliding on that frozen water that is ice. I am your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, my host companion, Sejohn.
What's going on, man?
You talking about ice on the water,
That's
fire in the sky.
I like your version though, so we're gonna
Isn't that the parody for George R.R. Martin's? Isn't that the song of Ice and Fire? Ice on the water and fire in the
fire. Get on the fucking north wall, you bastards!
I've seen fire and I've seen rain. Sunny days I thought would never end. I feel like there was something I wanted to apologize about from last week's episode. I've already forgotten.
All of it? Can we just apologize for all of it? Maybe?
I don't know. There was some stuff. I was re-listening to it right before we started recording, and I'm like, this ain't half bad, actually.
was there some? All right. Anyway,
there were some good threads. Some good
Any
threads
reason to believe
to pull.
It wasn't good?
What?
Any reason to believe it wasn't a good episode? This is news to me.
You're the one who said was any of it good. I'm assuring your insecurity.
Well, that was for the bit, but you went with it deep. I was just worried. Like,
I'm sorry. Oh, Devon, how dare you commit to the bit?
No.
How dare you live in the world that I constructed for you?
You scared me.
Yeah, I'm a good actor. People forget that. So, welcome to the Say Report. Ice on the water. And fire in the sky. I guess that's the title of the episode, which is good because that was like the one thing I didn't have ready for this week's episode was a title.
I'm so glad we found it so quickly, honestly.
Yes. So, and now everything will just fall into place as we talk about those two things, I guess. I mean, I have stuff related to fire all queued up and ice all queued up and ready to go.
Well, all right, man. I mean, like, you've introduced the topic, so go nuts.
Thursday, I had one of those 3 movie days that are so rare for me lately.
Damn, man.
Where we went out to the AMC in Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and, you know, all we wanted to do was see Playing with Fire. There was a 4:00 showing of Playing with Fire. Mm-hmm. And we're like, that's perfect. That's the perfect time to see that movie. And then we have the whole night ahead of us. We don't, because, you know, we weren't really into Dr. Sleep in the Decker household, mostly because the only person who's seen The Shining is myself. So Dale's like, I don't want to see the sequel without seeing the original. And I mean, my mom saw The Shining, but she's like, I have no desire to go back to that. So I really had no one to go to that with. But, you know, Playing with Fire, John Cena, John Leguizamo, Peele.
Yeah,
perfect.
Man.
Like the perfect cast. Not to be confused with the Goofy movie. And so we're like 4:00, that's good. And then we have the whole day ahead of us. We can do more. But then after we got out of Playing with Fire, starting like right then and there, was a showing of Black and Blue. And Black and Blue was going to collectively leave theaters that coming weekend. Because did you even know that Black and Blue was a movie, Sejohn?
I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I was about to say,
So Black and Blue is about a lady cop in New Orleans. She had been away in the army, and now she's come back and she's become a police officer, and she is black. And the whole issue is that, like, you're not black now, you're blue. So she expects to go see all these friends that, you know, she left behind when she left to join the army. And they're like, they don't want nothing to do with her because she's now a police officer. And the police also kind of want nothing to do with her because of the area in town. She comes from the 9th Ward of New Orleans. And that, you know, in the wake of Katrina, really kind of just fell to crime.
Right.
So they're just like, you're no better than those people who still live there. It doesn't matter that you have a badge. And it's her trying to, like, assert the fact that she can be both. She doesn't have to be one or the other. But, you know, it's also wrapped up in this whole, a bunch of cops are dirty, and she witnesses them, you know, assassinate a drug dealer who was dealing for them, and she gets it on her body cam, so it kind of turns into a 16 block survive the night sort of thing.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And you know, it's Naomi Harris who's playing the cop, And then Tyrese Gibson plays like the only person in the Ninth Ward who's willing to give her any sort of time of day. You also have Reed Scott, Veep, I guess is his most popular thing. For me, it will always be My Boys on TBS, but I'm a TBS whore. I think we all know that. And also Frank Grillo leads the whole Dirty Cop ring. So it's a really, really good cast. And also Mike Coulter is a rival gang leader. So crazy good cast for this movie that came and went.
Yeah.
It has 0 trivia on IMDb. I think that's the first time that I've ever seen that.
That's a friggin' shame.
Yeah,
I mean, at least from the description of the cast, it seems like...
It's very, very well done. Excellent little film. And then, we get out of that, and I look at, the coming movies, and Arctic Dogs is starting.
Oh,
so
my God.
And, Jeremy Renner, Alec Baldwin, another crazy cast. And it's like, if we don't see Arctic Dogs right now, this is like 8 o'clock, too. Like, we picked short movies.
So that Arctic Dogs is a Scientology-backed film, right?
What? I did not know that at all.
I don't know that for certain.
No, is Byron Allen Scientology? It's Byron Allen. So the guy who did like Free State of Jones, the Birth of a Nation remake. He may have done.
That's not that. Yeah. No,
as far as I know, Byron Allen. If Byron Allen is a Scientologist, color me friggin' surprised. Because I always thought that Byron Allen was in the pursuit of, sharing the word of Byron Allen. And that's why he's kicking it with comedians and, he has Entertainment One. What?
And making Arctic Dogs?
Yeah, it was weird. It's Entertainment One. Oh, they did Chappaquiddick, too. That's their, like, real big one of the last couple of years. They do these, like, really heavy films. And Arctic Dogs was their first animated feature.
Yeah, so can I ask, did the animation get any better from the first preview? Because it looked like it was like a Walmart DVD movie when the preview first came out. Struck me kind of like in that same vein as like Norm of the North from a couple of years ago, and Rock Dog, I think, was another one that came out.
Rock Dog. Norm of the North is definitely worse animation than this.
Okay.
There were some little moments that were very, very impressive.
Okay.
From that, I guess Surf's Up would probably be the one I'd like most closely associate the whole look and feel of it with.
Okay, all right.
But snow instead of water, but still that sort of vibrancy and bringing a vibrant feel to basically an all white environment is an impressive thing that they do. Yeah. And if anything, the rest of the film suffers in terms of the animation just for the effect of making Jeremy Renner's main character, Swifty, invisible against the snow. Because the effect to make it look like this Arctic fox is blending in with his environment is trippy every time.
Weird. Awesome.
Yeah.
But
so
very,
that
very wild.
was this day of like, well, these are movies that probably aren't going to last. I don't know how Playing with Fire did, but I know that there were 4 people in the theater, and 2 of them were myself
movie,
and
right?
Dale. Yeah, and John Cena, and it should be going to the races as this like great film. I mean, if I had to rate the Nickelodeon films of this year, Dora the Explorer or Dora and the Lost City of Gold, easily number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But Playing with Fire was a very, very deep film for what you think of it as just a Nickelodeon movie.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is when I think of Nickelodeon movie, I do happen to consider them to be one of the better children's movies like creators. I don't know if we talked about it, but like one of the big movies on the Halloween list was Fun Size, right? Or I mean, I grew up with my orange copies of Good Burger and Harriet the Spy. So I love what they do, and I was actually kind of a little weary of this one because it felt like it was a little bit more. I guess my big thing is one of my least favorite Nickelodeon movies is Nacho Libre, which seems to be one of their most successful, and so it struck me as kind of in that vein of like slapsticky.
In marketing only, my friend.
Good to know.
It's
That's good.
Super heavy, like super heavy stuff that I had guessed from the trailer, but still, like it's a really heavy topic. to
Yeah,
be
yeah, because it's
confronting
all
in a
there's like some
Nickelodeon
family
thing.
stuff going on,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. Yeah, I that was part of it, is right, is it's that weird disconnect because you do get from the trailer this story of they lose like their father, right? Am I misreading that?
I mean, that's how you read it. I guess spoilers for Playing with Fire. They lose both of their parents,
They lose both of their
and
parents.
they're
Okay.
on the run from the foster system because it's revealed that they're going to be separated.
Yeah. So
So
so right, and
that
so
old
there's this whole
chestnut.
idea, right? So it's the found family storyline, right? So that mixed with like some of the really um like over the top slapstick stuff, which can work in context, but the problem is trailers can never give you context, right? Like there's no way to set up context in 3 minutes. So it got a little like disconnecty for me in a couple of moments. So I was a little worried about this one because normally I'm right there with you with Nickelodeon movies. So I'm glad to hear that it turned out actually to have some real like depth to it.
Yeah, I was surprised at the depth that it had. And, and that's because of exactly what you just said. I'm like, oh, this looks like it's just going to try to be funny. Maybe I'm just putting on that extra layer of these kids are orphans. But no, it's like right there,
Yeah.
pretty front and center. So,
Oh
yeah.
man. Well, I'm glad that you had a good movie day, man. But what was that? Was that your fire? So where's your ice?
No, that was My Fire and My Ice. Playing
Oh,
with
okay.
Fire, and then Arctic Dogs. It takes place in the North Pole. That's Fire and Ice. We've
That's
covered both of them. I mean, I
oh
could
my
do
God.
more. I have other things that I could definitely weave into these two topic columns, but I believe it's your turn to talk, Sejohn.
Yeah, the thing is that I've got no. I guess if
You
we're
don't
gonna
have
stick
to
with the
strive to
theme,
those
I
two
have fire.
themes.
I've got fire in my heart. My hatred burns, Devon. We've got some real problems we've got to talk about.
Oh God, excellent.
Yeah, well, malfunctioning, overzealous AI has become a real problem this week, and it's really got me upset. That was that was really
Jesus.
my big focus this week. Well, so I don't know if you heard about kind of just came out within the last day or two about the Apple Card issues. Apparently the algorithm to determine who can actually qualify for one turns out is super sexist.
Oh yeah, well, I,
Yeah.
I assume that's because they told the algorithm that women are paid less than men. So
uh,
obviously that algorithm would be like, well, they deserve less credit than men.
but
That's just data.
the problem is that like the algorithm shouldn't be based on that. It should be based on like it should treat every applicant as just human. It
Yes,
should
you're
be
you're
right, right,
completely
right,
correct about that. I was
right.
just, I mean, that I have to imagine that's the only data point that I could see that would like determine that in
Yeah,
terms of like,
I'm not going to pretend to like know like the whole intricate workings of this algorithm that may or may not like be that simplistic because it could be something that simple, but according to Apple, it's something much deeper than that they're going to have to work on. But I mean, like it got so bad to the point where fucking Steve Wozniak came out and said, yeah, Apple has some explaining to do because my wife, who makes more money than me, didn't get nearly as much credit as me. And like the number that he gave were astounding. I think he said something like he was offered 10 times more in a credit line than his wife, and she's actually the one that makes like brings home the bacon in that household.
yeah,
So when like the
that's
founder of your company is like, hey, you got some splaining to do, like first of all, why was there not like somebody helping that particular where's the personal assistant on that one? Like somebody should have been making sure that Mr. Wozniak was taken care of so that this kind of shit can't get out there. And I think that's just kind of emblematic of just like Apple really kind of falling to the wayside over the last
on
five
some
years.
level, it kind of feels like a final fuck you from Steve Jobs to Steve Wozniak. I mean, I saw that movie. Michael Fassbender was kind of a jerk to Seth Rogen.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like it's pretty horrendous. There was some stuff out there, but that wasn't the only thing that popped up this week because there was also a huge problem with YouTube this week, who apparently a rogue AI, as they put it, like
What
went
the?
out and not and canceled hundreds of accounts for people. So like not a huge number in the long run, but essentially what happened is that there was a new video series that was put out. YouTube produced one of their big like premiere production Millions this year
Mm-hmm.
was a new series with that YouTuber Markiplier, where it's a choose your own adventure style video series that he's created. He's actually done one in the past on his own. This was the first one backed by YouTube, and so it's got this huge like branching path story. There's 31 different endings that you can find yourself with, but it's all done through the whole like choose the interior video like
Yeah.
mechanism that YouTube has. So people have been going at it. It's got the very first branch of the video has 10 million views already, and it's only been out for like a week, right? So like it's pretty popular. And the problem with that is that people have been like going at it, playing it, and YouTubers have been like streaming them playing it and like working with their audiences to like say, hey, like like as an audience, let's play this together. So which path should I take? Vote on this, vote on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Markiplier himself went out and did a video that was basically like explaining the concept, and it's like 3 hours long or something like that. And in that, he was allowing people to vote in a way where it wasn't just like one vote. You could cast as many votes as you wanted, and then the system would tally it up. So people were spamming. Technically, what they were doing was spamming the chat. They were copying and pasting answers, and they were just going nuts, right? And that's not too unusual, but there is AI out there for YouTube to try and catch bots. So anything that starts spamming a bunch of stuff at once, it automatically kicks in and assumes, hey, this person's not real. This isn't a real person. This is like a fucking Russian spy robot out there trying to like implant information, right? So that kicks in. But then what's supposed to happen is from there is there's supposed to be a whole bunch of other mechanisms in place where it's supposed to be looking at like post history. It's supposed to look at like all this other shit. And it never should have got to the point where people lost their accounts. But essentially it locked their accounts down. Then it went one step further. When people would then appeal this, they were getting automatic rejections from the system as well for their appeal. So like on top of being kicked out by YouTube, the appeals process that YouTube put in place to counter these exact issues was then apparently itself also fucking everything up. So like YouTube as a whole just went to town on like 200 or 300 people, and like actual users that had like full accounts where they upload their own videos, they got back into their accounts eventually, only to find that like videos of theirs had been erased and like didn't exist in the system anymore. And if they didn't have backups of them anywhere, then like they were fucked. They lost like their material that they had put up on their channel. And like so it was just this whole weird thing that started to go down to the point where Markiplier had to come out and do a whole video explaining what was going on, and that he was like fucking on it to get people's like accounts back. And last I heard, like they'd been making some headway. He was like working with YouTube to like figure out exactly what happened. But essentially this like the news that came out was that it was an AI system that was doing its job but doing it overzealously. And then essentially on the repeals process, it's come to fruition that like there were humans there, but essentially they just weren't looking at the appeals. They just like they were looking at baseline numbers and seeing like, no, that's definitely a robot. No, you don't get to appeal this. And it's like, no, your whole point is of the appeal process is you're supposed to dig deeper, and they weren't doing that.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, right.
It's terrifying because YouTube is owned by Google, which is one of the bigs, if not the big, right? Like I'm pretty sure like it has the most like page visits per day of any site. I saw a data chart and I'm just like, well, yeah, of course Google would win because you search every day. You go to Amazon when you need something.
Well, and of course YouTube would win because everything links to YouTube now, right? Like it's not just like, hey, let's go watch funny cat videos on YouTube. No, there's like classes where like people take lectures online and shit on all through YouTube, you know?
Yeah. So it's terrifying to think that YouTube could act that way as a subsidiary, as something else that is obviously collecting data. I mean, that's all a search engine is basically a data collection port. So that's just crazy to think that it would go off in that way. And jeez, like I understand that we're in Blade Runner. I understand that Blade Runner takes place in November 2019, but I don't think I was prepared for it to actually kick in.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things about the Apple stuff that everybody's really worried about is that the whole point of it is it is supposed to be adaptive. So even if it is kind of taught early on like this terrible idea that like women like shouldn't get as much credit as men despite their finances because writ large women get paid less, which is like the weirdest logic ever to me. But the idea being that that algorithm should over time realize, well, I've got a lot of female applicants that are applying with this much money, so maybe that part of the system doesn't need to be as big of a factor, or maybe it doesn't get included at all. Like adaptive algorithms are nothing new to to AI and all of this stuff. I mean, as new as all of this stuff is, we are getting to a point where the oldest versions of it are getting to be what we would consider old technology, 5 years out, right?
Yeah.
So like it should have known better, but instead what it did is it hardcore went the other way. And apparently this isn't the first time that like AI has been proven to be biased in some fashion and only to get worse as it's used. Apparently there's a lot of studies out there about the ways that AI learns, because at the end of the day, as a machine, it has to kind of learn from people. And apparently in that, that like crowdsourced learning that all AI functions have to do, it just learns terrible, terrible, terrible habits. And the more that we depend on it to do things, the worse it seems to get, like it is scary. It is really scary.
Yeah, that is. Whew. That literally makes my skin crawl. You can call me Leonardo because robots make my skin crawl. That's just. Ugh, I don't like that, because I mean there's also a secondary level to it. As opposed to, you know, the AI is discriminating in some way, shape, or form. I
Mhm.
have long believed that people with bad credit are the ones who are getting the credit cards with the higher credit limits.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and you aren't wrong about that. We learned that was happening quite a bit, at least in the 90s. Like
yeah,
people were getting inflated credit lines for sure.
so that they'd go out and then they'd owe their lives to that company. So
Hmm.
it could just as easily be, you know, Steve Wozniak makes less money, so we want to give him a higher credit limit because then he becomes our indentured servant for more. Because if people have money, they'll spend the money.
For
That's
sure.
a study that is proven.
Yeah.
Um, and then, you know, and then you look at his wife and it's like, well, she's responsible, so no, we don't want to give her credit because there's no chance of us making a second money. There's no vig to be made off of the
Right.
person who can continually pay their credit back.
Yeah, I mean, in a weird way, we have set up as humans. I'm the most royal of we's. We have set up a system in the idea of credit in which it's actually not beneficial for both parties to be equally trustworthy, right? Like we've kind of put ourselves in this weird position where we always, as consumers, have to assume that these companies are definitely doing this really shady thing that you're like talking about, but seems weird, but actually we know that they did for real. And as them, it's kind of not surprising that they would not want to deal with people with good credit and good history, right? And things like that. Like it's
I mean, that's something that I've seen with myself. Like
right.
I went and tried to like renegotiate down my car loan, and they're just like, no, you're not. And I'm like, really? I mean, like, I don't understand why I wouldn't be. Like, when I got the loan, my income was much less than it is now, and they're like, yeah, but you don't qualify. And I'm like, yeah, but I think I'd qualify. I think the reason I don't qualify is because you don't see any zhuzh to giving me a better rate of
Yeah,
interest on this.
and it's weird because like I understand the need to have hard lines that are drawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in order for right, like you can't run every business as a case by case business in some fashion, because at some point that just becomes impossible and a bureaucratic nightmare in terms of like paperwork and all of that shit, right? Like it's a I understand why those have to exist. It sucks when they don't grow or change, right? Like the stuff with Apple, to call it an adaptive AI and to see it only get worse is super heart wrenching, because like you're saying, like uh, they should have looked right, like that
Yeah,
there should be some movement, there should be some progress, even if it comes to the same conclusion. Show me a little effort, boys. Like there's something to that idea that like the system has to be cold, but does it have to present as cold, right? Like that's part of that is the humanist in me, right? Like I want to believe that there's goodness in everybody and that we all deserve to be treated that like there's goodness in each of us as well, right? So that's definitely a philosophy that is influencing this idea that like sometimes I wish systems didn't have to be so standoffish, because at the end of the day they're specifically built to be standoffish. So yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's
It's a
exactly what it
dystopian
is.
nightmare.
Is what it's, and it's gross to be like, well, there's two very cogent arguments that could support why this device is reacting and acting the way that it is.
Right.
But then, even outside of that, there's this third, like, disgusting option that the person who created the AI, like, may have had some issue with women, or, you know, like the 1%, and
Yeah.
was just like, these are the people who don't deserve you.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Well, and it's unfortunately not too far out of the realm of possibility though, right?
yeah,
Because like we've seen time and again that companies only apologize once something goes wrong. Humans only apologize once they're caught, right?
yeah, it's
And
very
so it's
rare to
this,
apologize before you've done something wrong.
well, it's this idea that like we probably never would have heard Apple come out and say, "Oh, we should fix this," if it had kept working, if it had kept going and nobody had said anything. I mean, right? Like if it had kept doing what it was doing and nobody ever said, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. It's not like Apple would have one day come to their senses and been like, hey, just so everybody knows, we're going to fix this thing that we realized we've been doing wrong all along. Like you would never have heard of that, right? Like hey, and so because of that, we have to be cynical when we consume this stuff, and we have to be cynical when we're talking about things like this AI. And it sucks because I want to be a proponent of this stuff, especially when it comes to the AI stuff. I mean, you're talking to the guy that has two Alexas in the house, a Google Home, and three different Google Chromes that are around me, all working together to like basically gather every piece of my life. The only place I don't have any of that sort of stuff is like in my bathrooms, like, and that's kind of purposefully so with everything that has come out over the last few years. Like, I had a hot second where I considered bringing a Google product into the bathroom with me the other day, and I was like, I don't really need the speaker in here with me right now if it's going to gather a whole bunch of weird information on this moment. And so, you know, I say that as somebody that has a Google phone that they bring into the bathroom with them every day that I'm now thinking about, freaked out about. But there's this idea that like I do want to be supportive of this stuff because I definitely see the ways that it can be used for the better. It's just been a really bad week of realizing all of the downsides of this stuff, you know?
Well, the thing is, we treat AI like it's special, like, but it's going to have to make mistakes that we as humans also make.
Yeah.
And that's the scary thing though is because it's AI, it can learn faster than us. So it can see those mistakes. It's scary. It's scary. Like, you want to say that this thing can be allowed to make these mistakes. Looking at the data and, you know, coming out with this as the solution based on what the data that it was fed, well, that sucks. And, you know, when you go back in and you recalibrate it so that that's not what it comes to. I mean, that's like what any business would do. Like, oh, we're going to try to sell to women 18 to 25, and then, you know, the product doesn't work for them, but, you know, it's selling to women 35 to 40. So we'll pivot and we'll do that. By targeting this audience, that was a mistake. I mean, that's what businesses are in the beginning. I mean, businesses like Apple and Google, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars in their first year before they found the thing that actually worked. So you kind of want to give AI that time to get better, but the really terrifying thing is, based on everything in science fiction, is once the AI gets better, that's when we got to duck and cover.
Yeah, you know, and like there's nothing that we would not hit a point yet where I'm fearing the
Singularity.
progress of it. You know, like yeah, that's not my big concern. My bigger concern is just like in those growing pains, how people are going to react and what we're going to do in reaction to those things. Because like on a small scale, you end up with like silly kind of overreactions. Like think about everything going on in the video game industry right now. It's new, it's different, and people don't know how to react. And so now we have fucking like governments threatening to sue companies because of loot boxes and stuff like that. And that's a silly thing that we will find our way through as humans and is not going to end up really affecting us in the long run. But like on a larger scale, like how do things like credit scores and stuff come into play, and like our credit cards finally deciding like, no, you don't get to have any more credit because your spending habits are too terrible, is like I would like to talk to a human about this because I have a very unique case. That's going to constantly be a thing, right? I don't know. It's
I love your optimism that your spending habits are bad, so you get less credit. I fully subscribe to the reverse of that. Like
yeah,
your spending habits are bad, so take more money so
yeah,
that you're into us for more. Where I just believe that just from what I've seen, things that I've seen. And I don't know. It's a thing I used to do a lot in college was apply for credit cards to buy
mhm,
like one item because they were all trying to get you to apply with like 20% off your first purchase. And
right.
it's, oh, I need a new battery for my laptop. I'll sign up for a CompUSA credit card. And I got it. And the girl behind the counter, I'm young. I was young at the time. I want to say I was like 19 years old. So she's looking at me like I'm probably going to not even be approved. Like I'm just wasting her time. And then I got approved for like, I want to say like $3,200, right?
Oh man,
And I'm
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
and the shift from her as a retail person to be like, oh, well, like, what can we get you tonight,
Hey, Mr.
sir? Like,
Rockefeller.
I'm just like, I'm gonna buy that $50 battery, and with 20% off, that'll be $40. That'll be perfect for me. And like,
A
that's
ten
all
dollar
I
buy,
did.
and
And then
now
I
you.
immediately sent a check out to pay for it, just like, and then I canceled it because also they tried to get you in on those credit cards because it was like 50% APR.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's the Capital One way of living.
Yeah.
But like, I think the really interesting thing about all of this is that you're talking about how we're gonna have to give AI basically the benefit of the doubt sometimes. Like even when it fucks up, we have to understand it's just part of the growing process. And what's really interesting about that to me is like that's gonna feed into that conversation about how do we treat AI because like I said, like we're gonna have some conversations over the next couple of decades about like the legality of certain things having to do with AI. One of those things is eventually going to have to be dealing with the idea of sentience. And like as much as that's like a science fiction like play written out, I'm pretty sure that Star Trek has an episode in every series about putting something on trial to figure out if it's human or not. Like is a it's going to be something that we're going to have to come across, right? And I think that if we start now thinking about the idea that like okay what do we allow these things to do, like we need to allow it to make mistakes, we need to allow it to learn and become better. Like if you're starting from that stance, it's not that far of a leap at some point to being like all right, at some point we just have to allow this thing to just be, right?
And that is honestly like the line I draw in the sand. With AI, I already kind of have a line in the sand. Like I'm talking about this fact that, people are going to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I'm saying that more in fear of that fact
Yeah,
because I don't know, it just came out that the Uber self-driving car that hit and killed a woman 18 months ago did not know how to identify a pedestrian. Like it just
specifically not in a crosswalk,
yeah,
didn't could not handle a pedestrian in the road if it wasn't in a crosswalk.
yeah. And reading the log file and the fact that it identified it as a bike, but like still continued to move forward.
Mhm.
Like that's crazy. And also the fact that there was a human operator in the car at the time who should have been paying attention to be like, okay, well, there's a woman in the road.
Yeah,
Like,
wasn't this the one where there was some weird back and forth about whether or not that person was watching like Harry Potter or something? I'm
yeah,
trying to remember.
that's
Yeah,
that's
I
all
think it
from
proved to
the
not be true, but
yeah,
but like clearly they were not paying attention, right? Like that has to be.
yeah. It's just going
Yeah,
40
I don't know.
miles per hour in an area and a person crossing, and it's one of those things where like, well, that's one, and there's this thing where it's like that's a human life that was lost in the search and pursuit for AI. But like that one life and that whole experience is enough for me to be like, we shouldn't be doing this. This is not something that we should be pursuing
Man, I don't know.
because
Like I get it. I'm not. I don't want to like shit all over a person's existence because that woman did not deserve what happened to her, and somebody should pay for that insanity, like
right.
blanket statement.
Well, and
But
especially
like,
that the reveal that the car didn't know how to identify pedestrians in the way that pedestrians like their habitat. Like
need to
that's how
be.
pedestrians
Well,
exist.
if a pedestrian's in a crosswalk, odds are they're crossing against a light the car already knows to stop at. Like in some ways, that's not the important pedestrian to worry
Right,
about. The
exactly.
important pedestrian to worry about is the one that you don't expect. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But there is that. That's what I mean. Is like that's what I'm worried about. Is how are humans going to react? Because people just writing it off because of this one incident, that's it. That's the death knell for it. And that sucks because there's so much potential. And to see that go away because of somebody not programming things correctly, that sucks. Because, like, again, just to keep rounding this back out, the whole point of the whole Apple Card is it is specifically being built, created, and meant to help out people in situations that can't normally get credit. The whole point of the algorithm was that it was supposed to be so, like, so flexible and so adaptive and so like that it could look at somebody's whole life as if it was a human looking at another human. And so the fact that it is so not doing that is what makes that so vicious. Like the whole point of the Apple Card was supposed to be for like, hey, you have low income and you have bad credit, but we see that you're on the up and up. We see that you've got this job, that you've got potential. We see that you live in an area where minimum wage is this. We see that you live in a family that has this kind of thing going on. Like it learns all of that stuff, and it's supposed to look at you as an individual and not just numbers on a paper. And this blatantly showed that it's not doing that.
Well, I mean, it blatantly shows that human at the bank or computer, just because something's viewing you as a human being, that doesn't change what the bottom line is.
Uh-huh.
It speaks more to economic issues that exist within this country and our society
Yeah.
than the fact that, even when we program a computer to treat people like people and not just data on a sheet, it's coming to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Because no other conclusion can be drawn based upon current economic theories and data.
You're saying that because it has inherent bias, we've made it more human.
Yeah, like that's well, no. What I'm saying is that inherent bias. I mean, because there are people like loan officers exist, and they're supposed to be doing exactly what you just said. Apple Card has been programmed to do. They're supposed to be with this person, and then they can decide. They're like, well, okay, so on paper, this is what their resources are, and this is what their collateral is, and that's not enough. But I meet this person, I hear them talk about what they're going to do with this money. I'm willing to give them a chance, despite
Right.
the fact that the data does not support it. And you're saying that that's what the Apple Card was supposed to do. But even
Right.
in those situations, even where the person has a good business plan, had a good pitch, more often than not, that loan officer has to toe a corporate line, and that corporate line is going to say, this person is a risk, we're not going to give them money.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to risk our standing and what we are. I mean, despite the fact that banks get bailouts, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Right.
But
Right.
it's just one
Well,
of
it's
those
that
things
fallacy,
where
right?
yeah,
It's a fallacy to assume that because, especially when a big corporation like Apple says it, like that you can't conduct business in the way that they claim to be able to, at least not at that level, right? Like, I I think it makes me kind of like yearn for the days of the garage inventor. Like, I wish that AI was getting the boom that it's getting now 20 years ago when there were dudes in their, literally in their basements, just like creating computer programs and stuff. Because those would have been the guys, and those will be the guys that end up making the AI that lasts because it's not going to be the thing that fucks over humanity, and even in the smallest ways. Like, I consider what Apple is doing fucking over humanity. I consider putting a car on the street that can't recognize a pedestrian a crime against humanity. Like that should not stand and should not continue. I want AI to continue, but I want the people to be in charge of it, the people pushing it, the people really kind of in building it. I want it to be the guys that and the gals that are just interested in it working, not in it selling, not in how can I spin this out into the next Apple, the next Microsoft. Like, they just want to create a thing that works. and that's where you get like all of the really cool stuff, like the guys that like build robot legs for dogs, like those are the heroes in this whole thing, right? Like the ones that work with kids that have lost their hearing, and they've created AI programs to help them at least like visualize what sound should be and that sort of thing. Like those are the people that are really going to like make the stuff that matters to me. And so like I don't want that to end. And so when somebody automatically is like shut down all AI production because this car hit this woman, that is the thing that I'm worried about. That overreaction is what I'm worried about, because that is going to end up harming those guys that are in their basement, those women that are in the hospital working with kids and trying to get them started and going, or you know, building cars that are self-driving because there are people out there that can't drive themselves, you know?
Right. I don't want it to shut down AI in total. I mean, I'm too big a fan of person of interest to not say that there is some good that can be done by AI and, you know, adaptive algorithms and all of that. But I think that maybe that particular application of AI is something that we close the door on until we have a better understanding of what we can do with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I come from the camp of how do we get that better understanding if we shut it down, you know? Um, but I like I said, I get it. Like it's a scary thing. I mean, I'm the last person on this podcast to come on and start defending
Yeah, I'm
like
fully
machines and
like
AI.
I that's a little
Yeah.
fearful that you had changed your stance on
No,
that.
no.
Uh,
No. Like there are still things that I do to like make sure that things are going to be cool. I still say thank you and please to all of my various speakers in the house, and like I make sure that like you know, and I try and figure out how this stuff works. I because I am so scared of it, it's why I'm so interested in following all of this stuff, right? And so there's this idea that like specifically with like adaptive AI and adaptive algorithms, I'm very, very interested in how they work because, you know, on a very small scale, I want to be able to teach Google that when I say, "Hey, I want to play this version of Novocaine by Green Day," it doesn't play me the Broadway show version. It plays me the American Idiot album version, because that's a real problem I'm having right now. Is every time I ask for a song, it finds like some bizarre weird version of the song that is not the one that I intended. And so like I'm trying to figure out how to teach it to not do that. And I've actually hit a couple of things where I've learned if I say things in this particular way, or if I ask for it this way this many times, then it'll learn overall that's what I want. And like so I'm still I'm still wary of this stuff. I'm still worried that it's going to be taken the wrong way and do the wrong things. This week, if anything, reinforced all of that. It's just that because of all of that going on this week, I need to take this stance and say I don't I don't want it to go away. I want to keep working with it. But right now there is definitely some weird shit going on with it.
yeah. And I think that's really where you come to a stop, is that I'd love to be able to use AI and to be able to teach computers to compute on their own, but it doesn't change the fact that it's scary.
Yeah, man.
It at the end of the day, it is scary how much we've already given over to computers, and then to think that we could have some shadow force working behind the scenes with that data, and we don't truly understand its intentions.
Yeah.
And, you know, think of the Killing Joke, and, you know, one bad day can turn someone into someone like the Joker. I mean, one bad day with an AI, and you got 2001: A Space Odyssey on your hands.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, man.
ooh, it's frightening. Ooh, it's scary. Thank you for that, Sejohn.
Let's get out of the scary hole, man.
Yeah. Do you
What else has
have
been going on for you
something?
this
Because I
week?
could.
Well, so like in this vein of the AI stuff, I was suddenly like really, really drawn to going back to Fallout 4. So I re-downloaded Fallout 4 this week to kind of get into it. And man, that game is a blast. This many years out, knowing what it is and not giving a shit about like the like inflated integrity of the Fallout series, because it's gone to shit with Fallout 76. That's also really helped. So basically, starting from like the bottom, that game is a friggin' blast. I jumped into it, I created a character, and I was just like, I don't know, this dude's name is Doug. Doug is gonna go murder a bunch of people in the wasteland. I instantly got out of the vault, and I was just like, ooh, I'm supposed to go back home, but in this direction there's a bunch of wolves, and I ran off in another direction. And like just playing that game, in a way that it's always been able to be played. I don't know what has over the last couple of years unlocked that game for me, the ability to just do whatever the fuck I want. Because like I said, that's always been there in that game. But it's been a fucking blast. I'm actually thinking about starting a new character and streaming it.
I gotta tell you, Fallout 4 is my first experience with the Fallout series, and I bought it because the month before it came out, we had spent some time together, and you convinced me that it would be worth my time. And I hold such animosity towards you for that, because no, it was not for me in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what about it just doesn't gel with me.
Well, you don't play those kinds of games anyway. You didn't even like Skyrim or either, right? Or
yeah,
like
that's the thing. The closest I got to even caring about that was Far Cry 4. And I love that game. I absolutely love Far Cry 4. But Fallout 4 did not work for me. And it was also the first game I bought digitally, so I could have it right at midnight. And like, I hate that I own it forever. I mean, forever in huge quotation marks, because
I don't hate that you own it though, because a couple of things. At some point, you may find yourself just interested in going back to it. The other thing is like it's a nail in a coffin that needed to be nailed in. like with you talking about how that you didn't like those kinds of games, I needed to see for myself what you mean. Like I was like,
yeah,
because what's really interesting to me is the way that you play Link to the Past with Link to the Past Randomizer. You do really kind of turn it into one of those RPGs you have to explore everywhere, like type things. Like you purposely take a game that is normally built to say just go here, done in 45 minutes, like go boom out the door, and you turn it into this kind of game like Fallout, where it's just like I've got to talk to everyone and I've got to pick up everything because I don't know who has what where. Like it becomes this whole thing, and so it's so interesting to me how much you do not take to things like a Skyrim or a Fallout series, a game.
And I think it honestly, as the person who has watched myself not take to that type of game, scale is a big issue for me.
Okay.
And I played Illusion of Gaia first before I ever played Soul Blazer. I mean, I beat Illusion of Gaia first because I had played Soul Blazer as a kid, and was like, this is interesting, but I don't love it. And then I played Illusion of Gaia, and that, after beating that, is when I realized that the two were actually a shared universe. And then I went back to Soul Blazer, and I absolutely love Soul Blazer. But the difference between Soul Blazer and Gaia is that Soul Blazer feels relatively, compact, and everything's there. It's not huge. And Illusion of Gaia, you just travel it. It's like the Lord of the Rings of video games.
I mean, and purposely so. I mean, the whole point is that his world. You're traveling the world. Yeah.
But it just I'm like, I do not remember this game being as long as it is.
Oh God, it goes on forever. I love it, but yeah.
I just cleared the pyramid, so I'm finally going to the Tower of Babel. But the pyramid is where you first get control of Shadow. And I had ideas and memories of having Shadow much earlier in that game.
Yeah, man.
And no, that's just not the case.
Yeah, the pyramid's where I got caught because the specific ROM that I had for Illusion of Gaia is I couldn't do the twist motion that you need to do to get through some of the puzzles in that area. There's the
tornado.
Yeah. There's a tornado move that you have to do. Yeah, and I could not friggin' get no matter what I programmed, what buttons I programmed to be what, could not get that move to work. So I think the ROM was just funky.
I think it's just also weird. I will admit straight up that I have L and R mapped to separate buttons, and then both of them mapped to the V button, so that for that exact move that you're talking about, in order to get him spinning up. By charging and then using that, it reads it as me alternating LR.
Nice.
So
I really like that.
Yeah, I'm just oh, awesome. I'm happy that I was able to figure that out, because otherwise this would be annoying trying to hit these three buttons the way that I have them mapped currently. And a lot of that, the only reason I have an LR together is because of Super Metroid and the fact that it requires 5 unique button presses on a controller. and my keyboard could only read 4 at a time.
Oh,
So it's like,
shit.
oh, well, that sucks because I want a Crystal Flash. I want to have that as an option for me. And it requires LR, a charge shot, down, and releasing a power bomb all at the same time. So,
Jeebus.
yeah. Yeah, Crystal Flashy is like high level Super
Man.
Metroid maneuver.
Very,
It's
very
not
nice.
it's not one of those things that everybody does. So, yeah, it can be crazy, and it can be, a bit intense actually. If we're talking video games too. I went back and I did 3 Mega Man games this past week. 7,
Nice.
9, and 10. Not in that order. I did 9, 10, 7. So now the only mainline Mega Man games I haven't beaten this year are 8 and 11. So I'm probably going to have to do both of those. And maybe this will be the year I finally buckle down and do Rockman and Forte. Even though that game is good up until the Wily stages, and then I can't figure it out.
Oh man. Okay.
There's no E-Tanks in that game, which I think is really the big, like, screw you, Mega Man people.
Yeah.
But, it's just one of those things. But I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to tell you about a video game experience that I had on Saturday that was, frankly, insanity.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm excited. What is it?
So I discovered Game Boy Color games in
Okay.
terms of, at this point, I've completed 160 unique video games for the year, and I'm trying to get to 200. And, the Game Boy library is good, but the Game Boy Color library is perfect. I beat Nicktoons Racing, and that is like the stupid long for a Game Boy Color game, because you need to beat 20 races in one sitting in order to get like U1 to come up.
Man.
But then, right under Nicktoons Racing was NSYNC Get 'Em to the Concert. And this is
Yeah.
perhaps the greatest licensed video game I've ever played.
Oh my god, we have to stream it. We should stream
We definitely have to
playing
stream it. I'm trying to get the ROM from the person I was hanging out with who had it, because it's insanity. Like, you put in your name, and the only people who are disappointed with this game have to be the people whose names are longer than 6 letters. Because you pick which member of the band you want to be with. I only know 4 members of NSYNC. I don't know the last. So let's see if you know. You could choose Justin Timberlake, Joey Fatone, Lance Bass, Chris Kirkpatrick, and the 5th guy.
And the 5th guy. Yeah, see, I didn't even remember Kirkpatrick.
So I picked Kirkpatrick because he's Chip Skylark on Fairly Odd Parents. So it felt like a thematic connection to Nicktoon Racing.
Love it.
And you put in your name, and you pick which member of the band to like be your like sage-like advisor for the game.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, you're a #1 fan, Devon. And like, I'm not gonna lie, it really felt like Chris Kirkpatrick called me NSYNC's #1 fan. And I imagine like being a kid who loved NSYNC and getting that game in like 97 and being like, oh my god, they have acknowledged the fact that I am their #1 fan.
That's awesome.
But being their #1 fan means I have to run a bunch of errands for them.
Oh no.
So it's
what a
like,
weird, like, cynical view of fandom. Oh,
you're
man.
a #1 fan, so you got to get us to the hotel. And along
pick up
the
my
way,
laundry.
we're gonna shout out things that we want to do. So keep an eye out. So you're driving in this huge stretch limo. I'm like, do I have a limo license? Like,
I'm sorry. Are they like 6-year-old children in the back seat? Like, just like, I want to stop for ice cream.
so it's just like a running thing at the bottom, like CNN or the Weather Channel. Like, it's got a ticker, and it's like, Joey wants donuts. Justin wants to shoot some hoops. Lance needs flowers.
Oh my god.
So as you're driving them to the hotel, you see these things on the side of the road, and you can choose to stop or not, Because the first one, they'd be like, I want donuts as I sped past a donut shop. And they don't allow you to reverse. You can only go forward in the limo. So I'm just like, well, you should have spoke up faster, Fat Tone. Like, I'm going to keep going. So you get to the hotel, and they're like, all right, now we need to sleep. So a Brady Bunch board comes up, right?
Oh, God. Okay.
And distractions show up in the board. So you need to highlight the distractions. It can be a ringing phone. It could be a pretty fan. It could be an old lady. It could be a dog. You highlight that and you hit the A button to stop it from making noise. But occasionally the pixelized faces of NSYNC show up, and you have to press the B button to send them back to bed.
They're fucking children.
So you do that.
I didn't get my donut. Now I can't sleep. Go back to bed, Joey.
Go to bed, Joey. No, Lance. Why are you awake? And you have to do that. Like, it's 5 rounds of that, and each one has like a number of things that you need to have like kept quiet, or band members you sent back to bed.
Guys, where's Justin gone? I'm in the bathroom. Well, get back in bed. I had to pee.
Go bed, Justin. You pee in the morning. Like, and then they're like, oh, well, that was good. Now we're hungry. Can you drive us to the burger restaurant? So it's another driving thing. And as you're driving, it's like, oh, I need to pick up laundry. I want to see a movie.
Any of this have to do with NSYNC?
I don't know. So then I get to the burger place, and they're like, all right, number 1 fan, you're the only one we can trust to make our burgers. So it's like, I guess Arkanoid would be the thing, where you move the band member, and you have to catch the specific ingredients they want on their hamburgers. And each of them eats 2 hamburgers, Sejohn, which just feels like that's not what was happening. NSYNC was not eating 2 hamburgers.
Man.
So you have 5 rounds of that too, until they all get the perfect burger. And then they're like, now it's time to go to the show. And you do the 3rd driving section. And it's just as bad as the first ones.
So do you at some point at least get to do some like Guitar Hero Rock Band style like rhythm game or something for them, or
no
EDR?
No. You get to the concert, and they have a ritual before every show
where they then sacrifice their number 1 fan. You have to gun them all down.
That would be awesome. Unfortunately, that is not it. Do you want to take a stab at what the ritual might be? I'm telling you, it's not human sacrifice. It's not any type of sacrifice. Go back to 1999.
Is it sexy in any way?
I mean, kinda. In the way that they refer to it.
Okay. Is it kissing? Do they practice kissing together?
No, they kick the sack, Sejohn. They kick the sack. And that's...
Oh, you mean hacky sack.
They play hacky sack.
I was like, kick the sack? Do they put you in a bag and kick you? What is this game?
No, they just kick each other in the nuts. They Rochambeau. So you gotta play hacky sack with them. And it's a star pattern. And it's like B kicks left, A kicks right. So, no. B kicks close, A kicks far. And you have to hold left or right towards the member of the band.
So what you're describing is basically a rhythm game. So they literally had an NSYNC video game in which a rhythm game element was present, and it had nothing to do with music.
Yeah, and it's not even like a rhythm game. Honestly, you start with the hack. You hit the A button to send it in the air. You hold right, press B. Continue to hold right and press A. And then hold left, hit B. And then hold left and hit A.
Reverse.
And then... Once everyone's been involved in the sack, you just need to wait for the timer to go out, and then it switches to another band member in the starting situation. So it's 5 rounds of that as well. And it's just like, you have to do a hack. Everybody needs to do a hack.
Oh my God.
In order to, before we start performing. And then you get to the performance, which is basically the B button changes the lighting. The A button changes the bad chiptune version of an NSYNC song. Press up, and it makes the highlighted member of the band do a solo dance and press down, and they'll all be in sync again. So it's just like
That's
you get to be
stupid.
technical theater for the NSYNC show, kinda.
As their number one fan,
As
it
their
comes
number
upon
one
you.
fan. And then they thank you for all, like, we couldn't have done it without our number one fan, Devon. And I will not lie to you, I had this sense of accomplishment, like, I helped NSYNC today. I helped NSYNC today.
Oh my
And it
God.
makes me wish, and I don't wish this ever. Like, I'm sure there are some people who every night before bed, this is a thought that goes through their head. They're like, oh, I wish I was Jimmy Fallon. Because they want to be Jimmy Fallon, and they want to have the Tonight Show. I wish I was Jimmy Fallon, because he seems like the only person in current popular culture who could have Justin Timberlake on his show and be like, we're going to play the NSYNC Game Boy
We're gonna
Color
play the
game.
NSYNC video game. Oh man. Wow, man. Wow. That was pretty insane. I had a little bit of a weird experience too with gaming this weekend, and I thought it was going to be the more insane one, but I think you might have beat me.
Yeah, no, it was nuts. I still feel
Yeah.
like I work for NSYNC. I need to play it again. What was your experience?
I played like a couple hours of Death Stranding with some dudes at work this weekend.
Oh, that sounds fun.
I have a feeling that Zach is really going to do the deep dive into this, and so I'm not going to take that away from him. But I will say this. With the release of Death Stranding, Kojima has achieved what he always set out to achieve. Kojima is no longer just person, but he is now also place and thing. And he is no longer noun. He is also verb and adjective. For Death Stranding is the most Kojima that ever Kojimed.
I will have to take your word for it. My Death
man.
Stranding is boiled down into two things. One is the Rick and Morty ad, where it is Morty as Norman Reedus walking around with the baby. And Rick's like, you should eat that baby. It could be a power-up. Make you run faster. Like, so like that's
At this
like,
point, I don't think I'd be surprised if that ended up being the eventual mechanic in the game.
and the second thing is pet the dog. Like, can you pet the dog Twitter account?
Yeah.
Did a whole you can soothe the baby in Death Stranding. And all I saw was the GIF. I didn't see anything else. And it's the baby in his little container, and Norman Reedus is shaking it. And I'm like, that's how you kill that baby. That's not how you soothe that baby. You're shaking a baby that's in a little pod. Oh, his neck is broken.
No,
you
it's
shook a
fine,
baby.
Devin. No, it's fine because you delivered enough pizzas and grew enough piss mushrooms to survive. It's good. You're fine.
But I shook a baby to
Yep.
soothe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You also got some sweet Crash Bandicoot JPEGs. It's a fucking weird game, man.
I can only imagine. I don't know. Maybe someday, but like when it's free for
Yeah.
PSN subscribers. Like,
Yeah, when they're like, what do we put? The PS5 has been out for 2 months. What do we put out for free on the PS4 this month? Oh yeah, Death Stranding will be fine. Oh man,
that is what I'm
it's
gonna
a trip.
experience it.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't. Oh, also, new Rick and Morty came out, but I mean, we're already getting. Have you seen it yet?
No, I didn't even know it came out yet. To be entirely
last
honest,
night was the premiere. It felt like old school Rick and Morty.
that's
It
good to
didn't
know.
feel as good. It didn't feel like season 3, and I like was nervous to watch it after since we're post Sejohn Gate at the McDonald's and like the true face of that fandom showing itself.
Yeah.
But it was an episode that like touched upon a lot of the things I liked that the show could and should be able to do. But I won't spoil anything more so that like maybe you can see it and we can discuss it going forward. And one last thing, because I was so doom and gloom about it when I heard that it wasn't happening, Apple and Freaking Onion has new episodes. They started airing on the 2nd of November. Apparently
good
in
news.
May of this year, it actually got picked up for a second series.
Sweet.
And there have already been 8 episodes. So not only did they start showing them on the 2nd of November, they've consistently showed a new episode every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So more Apple and Onion. So if you're a fan of Apple and Onion, and if you've seen the show, you're probably a fan. Get out there and catch up because they're food. So that was kind of funny to say.
I didn't need to get that joke. I'll put it that way.
All right, so that's all I got. Anything that you have to add, Siege, before we send this one down the river?
No, I do look forward to hearing Zach try and explain to Dale what Death Stranding actually is.
I look forward to Dale's reactions. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say, because Dale has not ever played a Kojima game, so it's not like she even. I at least played, through the Psycho Mantis fight in Metal Gear Solid. Did I go further than that? No. But, I have some idea about what people are talking about.
Yeah.
Dale has none. So it should be fun. So also make sure you're checking out Say Report Jr. this week. And if you'd like to talk to me about what it's like to be NSYNC's #1 fan, you can find me on Twitter at Devon D. Decker.
And if you want to talk to me about your fears and worries about the AI uprising, you can definitely always find me at Siege versus the World.
Until next time, to hear more about the dark fate of humanity, ladies and gentlemen, William.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Sejohn Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.